Oh, I can't see anyone. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the third sort of annual poetry show. Yay! Oh, I'm like trying to make eye contact and I can't. Okay, so clap if you've been to one of these before. Okay, clap if you haven't been to one of these before. So like an equal amount. Okay. So just something to note for like during the poems. Um, Whenever you like hear a line that's like really good or like you really like it or whatever, like it is pleasing to you, like you can like snap or you can kind of just let out like a little like it's like one of those like don't be obnoxious about it. Like you don't have to be like but just like a little, because the audible speaking is good too, but you'll know. But yeah, so like if I were to say like something super great, like I am a girl. Good. We'll work on it. So that's cool. What we're going to do is first we're going to have a little opening act. Adam Marquardt's going to read some of his lovely poems for you. And then we're going to have like 10 poems, and then we're going to have like a little intermission so that you guys can like just take it all in. And then we'll do the rest of them. And then, yeah. So, without further ado, please get. Oh, and you clap at the end of a poem. Don't snap at the end of a poem. Just clap at the end. Because, yeah. So, without further ado, please welcome Adam Marquardt. Yay!
Okay, hello. The first poem I'll be reading is titled Raggedy Dan. So here we go. Raggedy Dan, the garbage man. People didn't really like him much. They said mean things as such. I bet that guy sells crack. I heard he talks smack. I believe he's the one that punched Pastor Ned. I don't think he's taken his meds. Dan heard these things, his face turning a rather dark shade of red. So with his dastardly plan he led. He built up a great store with free candy, nails, and tractors. The people flocked in, but never flocked out. If only they knew it was a garbage compactor. Now, I'm going to do a little disclaimer for the next two poems. I've never directly been ailed by either addiction or depression, but I found them to be interesting topics that I could turn into poetry, so these are those. Substance, action, effect. You didn't think it appall at first. When you tried it, it started out small, but only got worse. Perhaps you picked it up at home or at school. The suppliers implored, come on, they said. It's really cool. You thought a little couldn't hurt anyone. Inside your head, the voices said, it'll be fun. Then you wanted more. Like a wound that kept sore, you persisted that everything was okay, no matter what others would say. Inside your mind, it grew like an infestation within you. You've turned away the help of family and friends because on them you no longer depend. To their care you say, don't worry, never mind, I'm fine and okay. You turned your bodies into hives for it to control your lives as if you were a stepping stone in a plan for a widespread invasion, like some twisted operation. All of this for a sensation of naughty glee. You've been blinded, for you can no longer visualize beauty, for you no longer see. You've numbed your bodies, you no longer feel with each use. You gradually seal a fate with no gain, as if you willingly walked through the gates of suffering and pain. You've tried to kick it, bit by bit, but after many trials and failure, you find that your mind won't allow you to quit. It's wrapping tighter around you like a snake. You sometimes try to struggle, but you realize that this is something you can't quite shake. as if you're holding your breath under a lake, wondering if you'll die with every take, as if your lives are remakes of a scene stuck on repeat. And when you're not doing it, it's in the back of your mind, trying to convince you to accept defeat. There are two ways to counter this. You either overcome it or join the long list of people who've given in when it insists. To overcome the repetition of the nagging in your brain, you have to shut yourself off from it and go through with the pain. Or you could do it less and less, but don't suddenly binge like a self-loosened hinge. You'd volunteer to topple yourself down, and your efforts would prove fruitless as you wallow in your now shattered mentality. But if you're to choose the latter and you continue your being through things that you now see as something other than recreation, but the seed that you planted that turned into a constant need that you had to feed or devour you with a yearning so bad that it hurt. Like a fishhook, you were drawn to danger through what looked like a treat, and those who cast those lines saw you as meat that they valued equivalently to the pavement on the street. You no longer desired food, drink, or sleep, and living was like leaping between boulders with thousands of feet between them. And maybe it comes over you, all the opportunities that you missed, how you no longer live, yet you regain your mortality, but by its use alone, you merely exist. The snake is choking you tighter to death, and with every use, you lose another breath, the same way a noose tightens around a neck. You're but a speck on an enlarging dotted map of those whose actions, similar to yours, led them to thinking that their last time wouldn't grant them the eternal nap. Or perhaps you wouldn't let them know the secret that you'd so well kept. Perhaps you were afraid of their knowing of it, as it stopped you from telling anyone, drowning out your words like a kitten with a ball of string or a hunter wringing the neck of a dead bird. And the people who tried to help you still blame themselves for when you died. And as your friends and family mourn your absence, they realize that you'd once had the sense to quit. Maybe they think that you were caught in the mitt of God, or perhaps they thought that the very being mentioned is a fraud, to let them cry tears of remorse, to let this happen, to let their baby die. But no matter who's to blame, no matter the pace of the chase or what others may say, this scenario and many like it will stay the same in the aspect of the cause and effect that will always herald back to the primal example of predator and prey. Okay, next one. Maybe. When did this start? How long has it been a part of me? Maybe it started recently, or maybe it's been in the back of my mind, slowly creeping into my full realization. When was my lowest point? Maybe it's all the times I was called names in school, or maybe when others judged me constantly for not winning. And I wore all of these like a suit of thorns, stabbing into me with every breath and move I made. Maybe it's every time I try to construct my self-confidence into a tower where I'd achieve mental stability through its sturdiness. Then, whenever in the phases of its construction the tower was collapsed by a barrage of harassments, insults, and self-doubt, and I always fell with it. Maybe it's every time I tried to talk to someone beautiful and was lost in their eyes, thinking, what do I say? Then soon after, I thought, you idiot, after they'd left. Maybe it's whenever I tried to make friends, thinking that trying doesn't count and I had to win. Then I'd have no friends, just another broken memory that manifested into my skin with the beady eyes of judgment always upon me. Maybe it's the time I realized that the closest things I had to friends were the thin windows to pain ingrained on my legs, chest, and arms. Maybe it's whenever I took pleasure from self-harm, as I outlined and cut into my body to be reborn and reflect on my failures. And since the windows were so very small, I needed so many to fully see inside and receive a sensation over my now numbed body. Maybe it's the times when I smoked, drank, loathed, and forgot. I forgot that my self-worth was equivalent to that of zero. Maybe it's whenever I look at the number zero and notice that it's infinite, like this dark swelling within me, that before and after my time here, there's been and will be an infinite cycle of people whose value is also zero, like a line of failures that never stops. Maybe it's the goals I never fulfilled, the jobs I almost had, the things that I thought gave me joy, when I realized that this existence made me sad. Maybe it's whenever I had a part of me that hurt and I tried to cover it up as much as I could, but the wound just became more apparent, more open for everyone to look in and see the breaking person on the inside about to shatter like glass. Maybe it's every time I lie to myself when I say everything's going to be okay, or when every time I meet new people and tried to smile but was really terrified of the judgment that they could have inflicted upon me. Maybe it's when I didn't make it to college because a small bottle of capsules can't make everything okay. But by then I already had a collection of broken memories that I saw as thin reflectors of my failures. And sometimes I'm afraid to look inside and see the compilation of them showing me that my joy never died because it was dead to begin with. Maybe it's when I realize that my life's been a tunnel with the light shining off and on again until it doesn't matter anymore, until my default mindset is that the lights are always off. Maybe it's when I tried to come up with an answer to the question, what are you going to be when you grow up? But no matter how far I searched, I couldn't come up with one. Maybe it's the times when I expected joy in me set loose from the boulders that weighed down my shoulders and was let down, as if I could ever have bouts of joy. I'm like a broken toy that can't be fixed, for others have certainly tried, but I already know that trying isn't good enough. Maybe it's every morning when I have to suit up for the battle that is every day and try not to let the boulders crush me. I could let them crush me. I've considered it even. It's an urge that's always there. Maybe it's all the time when I just want to escape reality and sleep. I desire to lie down and exist out of this world of ours and never wake up. Maybe it's right now realizing that that's all I am, a low point. Maybe it's seeing salvation in high heights or ropes, and I get the urge, one similar to sneezing or coughing. You have to try so hard to let it die down. The main difference is that if this urge doesn't die, then you do. Maybe it's when I stop communicating, knowing that the world would shut me even farther into the darkness I had captured myself in. Maybe it's when the never-ending battle that is every day has the odds stacked higher than the tower I tried to build within my mentality. Maybe it's every time I search for a light in the darkness that's my existence and find that the ones in my life have all burnt out. Maybe it's when I cleaned others' mess to subsist but found I'd yet to clean up mine. Then I'd the spine to fight a bright darkness that licked like knives and took others' lives. I hoped that it'd one day consume me. Once they learned this, they dismissed me quite quickly. Maybe it's each breath, each step I take, or maybe that I can only focus on the low points because that's all there is. There is no light, no saving grace. The boulders are growing heavier. The remnants of the tower sit in rotting ruin. I look into the thin windows on my body and I know that this is the only way I might be happy. I've severed all connections. No one will miss me. Maybe my high point is the salvation I'll soon receive, the liberation from this painful existence to end this repetitive game. This was once known as a punishment, if only they knew. And I can already feel what I'll gain just from this coarseness around my neck. I'm smiling. Maybe.
Did you guys know he's 12? He's 12. Good job, Adam. You can sit with your family as well. Whatever you feel. All right, cool. Another round of applause for Adam. He's amazing. He is going places. Okay. This poem is called An Attempt to Put Your Things in a Box. At 7:38 a.m., I hear a thump on the front porch. The newspaper is here. I stand outside on the damp rug, smelling boxwood. It's foggy enough that I can't see past my own home. It's a suffocating kind of iciness. Scanning the headlines, I recognize your sock, hiding behind the fridge. I throw it out back for the dog to chew on. The bird feeder you built is beginning to rust. Bitterly, I take it to the trash. Wet dew on the grass, cold as shoulders, coming back inside only makes it worse. I press a hot towel on my face, rest my elbows on the sink, stand still until I almost fall asleep. I have no errands to run today. I can hear my footsteps echoing through the whole house. The TV is off. The music is off. The lamps are off. The walls are off-white, just enough to shut me in. I venture to the grocery store. Suddenly, I can't find my fingertips. Your favorite song comes on the radio. I turn it off just after the line you said reminded you of me. I'm turning around. I'm not going out. I nap for 4 hours. Awaking to rain is numbing. Nobody else will be home for weeks. I can't make myself turn on a lamp or eat or get to the interstate. I haven't said a word in 2 days. The quiet is beginning to become so distracting I can't even hear myself think about you, and all I can manage to do is read the paper, trying to become aware of the Somalian gunman or the Iranian negotiations or any Sudoku puzzles that don't look like your face. Why did you have to go and ruin the whole thing? You ruined my hands. I can't remember how to tie my shoes. I keep folding in on myself like a sheet. Yesterday, I couldn't see myself in the mirror. You ruined it. I can't impede the trembling, and the worst part is that I don't even want you back. The one push I need will just end up with me more sore than before. The phone rings off the hook. I'm sitting next to the microwave that keeps beeping from the coffee I reheated yesterday morning. Every 5 minutes it beeps 3 times, and I check my pulse. I check the mirror again. Turns out I'm completely ripped open, like a sword tearing right down the middle of a throw pillow, bits and pieces dropping behind me as I pace my hallways. Echo, echo, step, step, stand still, stand, stop. Here it comes. Busted. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Allie, and I'm not wearing shoes. But this is Sparks. Roam the hills with me at night and take me back to a place where I didn't have to fight. For your attention, it seems to be all I want. You've talked about a chase, but now it seems more like a hunt. I've acquired a bad habit of picking apart flowers just to give you a voice. What would you have done if I gave you a choice? Collect all the starts so maybe that will make the ends better. I've been hoping for so long that you would be a spark. But now I see you're only a fire raging on after the rest of us tire. I tried to bring back the stars from the sky, but not even they can bring back the light of July. May I ask you one little question? Does she face you with conviction? Do you look at her and know that somewhere behind deep brown eyes there's a hidden flow? That somewhere behind those deep brown eyes there's a disguise of endless whys? I've got vines of pondering spilling from my soul. They're growing with questions that overflow, and you have starved them of answers. I will not dare ever speak of love, and I hope that these questions float like a dove, because peace is what I need. But I can't get this piece of you away from me. There's nothing behind his eyes, they're just blue, but with you, I could dive into the depths of an ocean's hue. Have you ever thought of me and yourself as one, or were you just telling her the words that you left unsung? Of everything I ever wanted to know, somehow you've made this sun feel like snow, and I hate giving you these godly powers, because you're nothing more than pretty words and flowers. No. That's not true. It can't be. You show me things that others don't see. Those pools in your eyes have common ground with mine. We've been walking the same line.
I have to lower this a little bit. I'm pretty short. My name is Hannah, and my first poem is entitled Why. Why is everything we do to please other people? Why can't we dance behind closed doors because we always do it in the open, and just once want it to just be you that finds pleasure in it? Why do we have to hide behind books and not read them aloud? Because by the time we open our mouths, the crowds have opened theirs, and every line is one more time you have to yell over the roar. And why can't we say why? Why don't we just ask the questions impeding our thoughts till we have our answers? And we can move on to the next question we wonder. Why can't we touch the waves without feeling exposed to an ocean of judgment, when all we want to do is feel the expanse of life, find the way it is, and just let the never-ending tide of side comments roll off our backs like water off of the shore? But we don't. It keeps creeping up on us like high tide, and it's high time that we left the beach and walked on the stone, because sand slides away far too easily. I wonder how many currents have to flow for the ocean to take back what it gives. But even more, I wonder how many pools the ocean makes to give back what it takes. So few, and far too many. So next time I see a perfect shell, I'm going to reach out and take it before it is lost forever. Next time I see only a shell of what was once a person, I'm going to reach out and grab hold of it so tightly because it may be the most beautiful in the ocean. But it has been tumbled by the waves and is covered in shame that only hides perfection. I am going to take hold before they are lost forever.
This this poem is called Colors, but like with a U, because I'm pretentious. Okay. Okay. Decorated kneecaps, knee scabs and cleats scratched, sunburnt noses, mud-caked elbows, dirt gathered under fingernails, bicycle helmets, tricycle helmets, diagonal sandwich cuts, serving-sized juice boxes. This is expandedness. This is loudness. This is body is just body. Body is not display. Body is not shaped wrong. Body is nourished. Body is healthy and eats what it needs. Body is only bruised by accident. Body is unbroken, invincible. Eagerness bleeding into teeth. Shoulders covered, time for church, from Barbies to Bratz dolls, eyes wandering too much for their own good. This is Genesis. This is awareness. This is learning the new shapes of laughter. This is dialing it down. This is body is understood. Body cries when she gets home from school. Body doesn't understand why everyone thinks she's weird. Body notices. Body wants to shrink. Body hesitates at ice cream. Straightened hair. Flat as a board, sucked in stomach, not so much. First pimple, last innocent Halloween costume. Hollister and Abercrombie, doesn't fit though. Noticing. This is sharpness. This is silence. This is the veil of invincibility. This is seen and not heard. This is silent but deadly. This is body is wrong. Body feels heavy. Body wants more attention, but no, she isn't supposed to ask for it. Body thinks attention from boys counts more because that's all she's been told. Body hurts. Head hurts. Head wants more than just a note passed. Head feels ashamed of body. Head wants body to go on vacation and never come back. Body just wants to sit, but knows she should be out jogging. Body wishes head would stop striking. Strikes. No helmets. No accidents. Dark cloaks. Craving winter. Craving summer. Sleep. Melting. Dissolving bridges, sinking upward, returning. Mangoes, black beans, bracelets, finite wardrobe, intrapersonal knitting, interpersonal shedding, chinning up, chiming in, cheering out. This is open palms, this is exhale, this is gentle elbows and strong arms. This is finite sugar but infinite sweetness. This is body is function, body listens and body is heard. Body finally found its way home, body likes being outside. Body is soft, body wants ice cream for dinner, and body is going to have it. Thank you.
Okay, this is called Answers. Your mind is mechanical. You always have to figure out the equation, calculate the formula of the world, and spit out an answer. You're always searching, always looking, always thinking. You never stop. 1,000,000 miles a minute, I bet that's how fast you think. But I don't. My mind works like a river. I have waves of ideas and days of dryness. You try to figure out my tsunami of emotions, calculate the destruction of my attitude, and spit out an answer as to why I swatted your hand away when you tried to hold mine, as to why I don't want to cuddle with you tonight, as to why my forehead crinkles with worry. You always need an answer, but I'm not a math problem. I'm an ocean of emotion. I'm a girl with too many feelings. I have my ups and downs. My currents push me away. They lose me at sea. You will never figure me out. I will never tell you exactly what's wrong. My mathematician, my scientist, my answer.
Just a little prequel for this next poem. I know some of you don't know, but my dad is a state trooper, and so this is a poem about him and just kind of what he does. I wrote it at GSA because we all had to choose a picture. Yeah. And the picture that I chose, I ended up going back and choosing this one that really kind of spoke to me. It sounds kind of cheesy, but it did. It was a picture of a bunch of just curls of barbed wire. So it's the poem is entitled Barbed Pen. Coils of wire, shaping the hearts to be as sharp as they are, remind me of my father. The chance every day he takes, how one flash of a plate in the corner of his eye can end a life. He wears the green with a proud upright stance and bears the insignia that comes with a chance he takes every day he wakes. How many lives? How many times has he spoken those words, "Please step out of the vehicle," never knowing when a stop may be his last? His cold bearing is the same as the steel that grazes his waist, and every movement he makes reminds him of his duty, to West Virginia, to his sergeant, to his onlookers, to me. Because the last thing I say to him may be the thing he has to throw away when he's protecting mine. I tell him, be safe. As I let the words flow on this page, the wire curls in, the spirals and spires that enclose my fears that he tucked away as he tucked me in and sang me my songs. He is the desperado of my night. I shiver under my covers now because though we can't have the Queen of Diamonds, I need the Queen of Hearts in my back pocket. Because if a hatless head was ever bowed on my doorstep, I would be alone, with my music of the night playing over and over in my head like my Nana's record player, stuck on his favorite songs. These words are for me, for him. As he sets its lights to flashing, my walls come crashing down around me. I can see the fingerprints staining the back of his cruiser as the wires enclose.
Hi guys, this is called The Cartographer's Quip. Spatial reasoning has never been a strength of mine. I always get lost in the concept of geography. I find myself fixated on how landscapes fit together. Picture me perturbed, puzzling out a panorama, unsure of all the angles, manufacturing a makeshift map in a mess of westward directions. My compass rose is wilted, fingers fumble around its thorns, longitude and latitude left to linger in midair. I'm always pacing back and forth, using ridges as reference points, trying to transform tributaries into trails to lead me to new tranquility. They seldom do. Living in a valley, I have the constant compulsion to climb. I drive out to find the highest point I can, look out, and deliberate the distance to the farthest point I can see. 2 miles? 10? 20? Would any distance ever be enough? Is that my peak? Will it be too soon? Is seeing enough? Is it better not to know? Am I ever going to make it over that next hill? The introspection ends with a free-form fall into observation. Exterior from myself, I often find more. I decide to shape the world from my stance to what I wish it to be, bending colors and shapes into something more pleasing, flipping my camera's film, negating reason and gravity. Looking out, I see the sun, ducking under a dusky horizon, green trees freed into shadows of shallow light. Late afternoon, everything bathed in burnt orange. But I catch a glimpse of a preemptive tomorrow, and I can already see the sunrise from the next hilltop, opening up another valley for me to cross. I see water towers, bird's egg blue against paler skies, bulbous statues of sustainable life. Before my eyes, they become giant push pins, location markers on the marble map of the earth. Over and over, they tell me, you are here. Visible from any point on the perimeter, vanquished only by subverting the next summit. Even at night, the pilot light beats steady red, until you are here is only a murmur from the next peak. So faint, it nearly fades back into the blue-gray-black skies that backset it. I see streetlights, steadfast and tall, climbing upward into skies but still illuminating below, every 20 feet until the city becomes the woods. In them I see a guiding flicker of the runway reflectors, the takeoff track of the plane I want to take far, far away. I see clouds, but I see a pillow-top mattress without a frame in a studio apartment in some small city. I see the trees, but I just see the relativity, the size of the air that I breathe. Through makeshift binoculars lens, I see 360 with mixed feelings. The world upside down, sky becomes the ground, brake lights become stars, supernova cars diving fast and far through space, upside down fireflies in their jars, poking holes in the lid to catch their breath. Sunsets rise and reverse, moments rewind in unreal time, gravity twists to fit my liking, and suddenly the next peak doesn't seem so out of reach. Perspective is a tool, it's my way out. Obstacles now seem like shortcuts. Hoops I thought I had to jump through now guide me in the right direction. From them I gain more energy than I expend. In this climb, challenge builds strength. Tension makes the tightrope taut. I don't need to know the layout of this land for it to help me get where I'm going. In that, maybe not knowing is to my advantage. Finding your strengths is half the fun, and 4 wrong turns make a right one. I've realized just by going, I gain more than I ever could staying stagnant. I flip my GPS upside down and it tells me to get lost.
Hello. This poem is called On Trying to Force a Splinter. In the bitter squint of the morning, I pour my coffee in the mug you tried to break. I cut my lip on the chipped corner. Laughing, I pour it in a new mug, the one you hate. It seems I've carved your name into the bottom of my feet, because you're the only thing keeping me steady and running. If I could only cover up the hole you left for more than a minute. Basket case has become second nature. I hang on to this illusion like a dangling coyote on the edge of a cliff. Bang, off it goes. I'll claw on the floorboards till they take me away, but if you could just open the door and take your mail, I might take my tail from between my legs and go for a walk. But how can I sell a house that I never lived in? Take this empty fridge, you are an echo that I hope will someday sound different when it comes back. I looked down at your notes from a year ago, realized we don't speak the same language. Loosely translated, you said, care only for yourself, like an apple core. Your bad parts are what live longest. If only I could conjugate the goosebumps I get when you touch my elbow. I shouldn't be this vexed for being a library. They say when you have one finger pointing at someone else, you have several more pointing back at yourself. So I'll remove all the ones that are in my direction and give you the good parts of me that I can't get back. And I'll walk down the end of the shoreline until. Thank you.
This is called The Thought Process of Quicksand. When did you know you grew up? Was it a time when you didn't feel so stuck in a place feet glued to the ground moving with no trace? Was it the first time someone spit the words of hate down your back? You didn't think you could feel pain like that. I forget when my mom stopped tucking me in at night, but that was when the curious questions started to put up a fight. They used to be flowing, searching, haunting, growing. But now, there's not a time I yell, Mom, right before the dark of the door overtakes the light. You remember the light of my heart? That was all during the start. Did you grow up when that boy told you, hey, you're pretty, and something inside of you got a little dizzy? No, not the twisting and the twirling of the teacups, but the night that you were afraid to speak up. Maybe it was the day I sent a tornado into a dandelion and 10,000 wishes landed on the ground. They broke 10,000 promises without making a sound. I think the day we grew up was when we were kissed for the first time, or maybe as when we were missed for the first time. They warn you about street violence and drugs, but no one ever put up caution tape to hide me from a hug. Yes, a hug. Innocent but dangerous. The perfect time to take something sacred from us. Knights in shining armor have all lost their bravery. I think I grew up when I knew there wasn't someone saving me. The story has been told on golded tip pages. I'll share with you a secret that has been kept for ages. Age doesn't tell you when you grow up. It's not the wrinkles or the gray hair, it's the way you get stuck in a dead stare. My eyes have depths of wisdom I've acquired with my desires. I've got a heartbeat that sings its own song when there's nothing left but the blues. I've taken note of these little cues. I've got my reasons for feeling so old. Everyone around me has been too cold. I knew I grew up the day I raced into a school zone and the whole world seemed time-warped. And I realized that my whole life has been a little off-key, and I'm not nearly as put together as my poetry. The day that my dreams turned into nightmares, the day I realized that I was scared, I knew I grew up when I was stuck.
Hi. This poem is entitled Crescendo. There was an eeriness in hearing the wind bellow from my window. It called to me, and so I looked and saw one light other than the moon's glow. And when I looked at that light, I heard a slight crescendo. I skipped the creaking step and knew that outside there were no meadows, no weeping willows, only the snow. I did not fear the coyotes or the barren grove. I marched to the sound of that crescendo, to the light which I saw from my window. I heard the cawing of the crows. They hoped I would be succumbed by my woes, but what they did not know is that I sent a message to and fro. I knew of this moment when the heartless would outnumber, to try and lullaby me into slumber, to add a little sum to my cumber, to make me and my message snows under. With winded breath and weakly step, I crept, I crawled, Although it was winter, I had felt the fall. The holes for my nails were being bored. My family was picking the shore from which they would mourn. I could feel the cold creeping to my core. I have fallen. I have withered. I am a mere splinter waiting to be picked from the skin of the earth. I have died. But just before my final life force had steered its course, I heard a voice. I looked up and saw her. I watched her lips. She had heard the crescendo.
This poem is called Dreaming Awake. Studies show that the average person has about 7 dreams per sleep. The other night, when I should have been right around dream 2, I was devising a scheme to skip out on the first 5 and go to a party instead. You see, we're fed the idea that it's better to have read a statistic than to be one. Better to stack up books and look outside at all the deer than to be one. And if you think they're dumb, listen to what I did. As I was climbing out the window, my plan seemed to be going swimmingly. The air was still, the waters were calm. I got one leg out the window, thought I heard a sound nearby, looked back to see what it was, fell off the windowsill back inside, slammed my head into the closet door, thought about how my walls are literally 3 inches thick and my parents' room is right next to mine, and then tried to play it off when my mom came in the door. But the important part was my accomplishment. I got one leg out the window. I got one leg out the window and I heard a sound nearby and some voices in my head. I had myself convinced, like Sunday school it read, "Turn back now. What you're doing is wrong." Man, I was brainwashed back then, but it had me hooked like a song. I guess I forgot how long it took me to realize I'm not religious, I'm spiritual. God is just easily adherable and my healing is lyrical. And if I ever made it out of this night alive, it'd be a miracle. So there I was, wishing I was on dream number 7, about to wake up, staring at my mom and her at me, wondering if I could see how bad it hurt her that I had better places to be. She asked me what I was doing. I said I was trying to get on the roof to think and watch the feeling of being lied to sink into her chest as slowly as one falls asleep. And I can tell it cuts deep, but what am I supposed to say when they want me to be happy living under the same roof, when I'm the one trying to climb on top of it? Everything is so opposite. Love, a weapon; peace, a war; art, a competition. Why am I so scared to love but terrified to die alone? I may never know. All I know is that I haven't remembered a dream in 8 long years, and I want to be a kid again. That is, until that next morning. I finally remembered my first dream in 8 years. Call it a coincidence if you want, but I think each of the first 7 years were dreams themselves, because this year, I finally feel like I woke up. When I was a kid, I used to have this reoccurring dream. It was pretty weird. I remember seeing boxing square with 2 big holes in the floor on each side, and out of those holes would emerge 2 large thumbs. Yes, thumbs. And these thumbs would start wrestling, and they're going at it, and I'm watching it for 3 rounds until eventually a winner is declared. But I didn't care who won. I was terrified. I was so scared, I remember I used to sometimes wake up in a cold sweat. It was the music. The music was so horribly terrifying that it made it a nightmare. 1. But it wasn't until later that I realized some people are deaf, and just because I don't understand why they aren't as scared as I am doesn't mean we can't be friends. 2. It wasn't till later that I realized just because it was a nightmare doesn't mean it was bad. It was an experience. 3. It wasn't until later that I realized I can't have 7 girls in my dreams because when I wake up, you only ever remember 1. 4. It wasn't until later that I realized we're all just consciousness experiencing itself objectively, so what makes this life any less real than a dream? 5. It wasn't until later I realized everything means nothing, which is why it means everything. 6. It wasn't until later that I realized my first would be a nightmare and my last would be nirvana. 7. It wasn't until later that I realized you never remember falling asleep, but you'll know it when you wake up.
This is Crying Underwater. Talking has never been so hard. You've cut out my vocal cords. I know I want to say so much, but I'm mute. You keep pressing buttons. I've been stuttering like a skipping record. You scratched me. I told you I'd be hurt, and you won't stop hitting. Everything in me wants to stop, but your eyes are a green light that screams go. I wish I had a way of explaining. I wish I could get you to understand. I wish I could just talk. We've been riding around for hours, and I'm so tired of moving. The only thing that's consistent with you is how much you change. I have never been this lost in my life, although you still find me in places that I wish you couldn't see. I spilled to you these lies when I promised you the truth. I'm trying so hard to be real, but putting on a fake smile is easier than telling you what's wrong. I can't say anything right. I'll just write. But your name has been wrapped around the rungs of loose leaf paper for so long that I've forgotten what a poem looks like, without the words reflecting off of a mirror that you're looking at. I want to ask you so many questions, but the hunchbacks at the ends of sentences have been giving me dirty looks. They tell me I won't like the answers. I want to tell you stories of my childhood, but you won't even listen to what I have to say now. I've been screaming for so long, I'm not even mad. I just want you to hear me. I want to ask you so many questions. You talked about the sound of my voice, but have you ever admired the words that were spoken? Have you ever let your pen dance across the page while you were thinking of my name? I've been crossing my T's to tangos for some time just to communicate with you. Here, I'm taking the lead. All you have to do is move your feet. There are strokes of ink swimming to a place for you to see, but they have not yet reached a finish line of green. I'm swimming to the surface and I can't break free. Speaking hasn't come easily. I'm so tired of drowning with you. My heart is splitting in two, and this love is broken and abused. This is a love of being used.
Wish on the sun, because it's the first star you see every day. But we don't realize it, do we? Do you? I don't. As the sun wakes, my eyes spring to life, taking it in too fast, and I am blinded by the power of one ray. It's kind of crazy that we hang in perfect balance with our wishes. But do we ever use the wishes we make? I don't. It's just something we do. I wish this would be more deep or thought-provoking, but stars just shine, and we just wish. Heartbeats. They say eyes are the windows to the soul, but mine may not really show turbulence under the calm green waters. They may not hide the black and blue blood of my veins, pumping its oxygen richness to my heart, but leaving depleted of what I need to survive. Till I find more, gasping it in, but not feeling the rush down my stretched vocal cords. Till the blue becomes blue like the night sky, and when I look up, I have to hold my breath because I've never seen anything like it. And I hold it till I see stars. I don't know all of the capillaries for my emotions. I don't know where the bad connects to glad. I don't know, and sometimes I don't care. Most of the point is that they're still there. And we haven't been numbed by the cold, cold code of life that can leave our eyes dry because all of the water in my body has seemed to run out, like the stream behind my house in the middle of summer. But I found a trickle one time, and it was honestly nothing, but the message is, it's there. How can we not feel empathy? How can we run to lies and bind our bodies to blind promises and highs that only end in lows and devastation of the aftermath our hindsight bias doesn't want us to see? I laugh too much and at the wrong times because I'm so sick of the pain. I just want the world to see a smile because I need to see a smile. I want to run to the top of a tower and yell, the truth is right in front of you. Just look. Just look. But there is blindness. And I, of all people, should know. I've never seen 2020. I have glasses whose lenses are made of fragments. But my blood still knows how to pump in and out of my heart. That's one thing I don't have to worry about, and I like that. So why can't hearts pump out repentance, acceptance, and love as easily as the ones that breathe out words that destroy?
Okay, something I want to say before I start this poem. I just want everyone to know that, like, everybody who's participating in this decided how many poems they wanted to read, because I feel like people who were like, why is this girl coming out so many times? But everybody else decided just to do, like, 1 or 5. So, just didn't want you to think I was, like, arrogant. So this poem's called Today, Today. It's an oldie. 7:14 a.m. A buzz on the dresser. Be there in 2 hours. I answer, see you then. 7:34 a.m. I stand in the hot water trying to stay awake. I stayed up all night thinking about your hands. Here it again resurfaces. I turn the water off and leave the shower. 7:45 a.m. Eyeliner smeared like a deer on the highway, useless. Skip this step like a rock that'll sink in a second. 8:34 a.m. No mail since last week. Coffee tastes like nothing. I put my things in a bag. 7:10 a.m. You're early. I get in the car. You're a morning person, for whatever reason. My groggy demeanor evaporates from the bubbling of your giggles. 9:57 a.m. In an effort not to stare at your hands, I ask about recent events, all the same, sameness. 10:21 a.m. I've been letting you talk for 15 minutes about your most recent kidney stone just to listen to your voice. 10:56 a.m. We stop so I can go to the bathroom, but really I just need a break. When I find you at the front desk buying Sour Patch Kids, you smirk at me guiltily in a way that says, I know I'm a dweeb, and it's all I can do not to cry. 11:30 a.m. We've been talking about a universe we would create that is superior to our current one. I really only have one problem with this one. 11:51 a.m. It's a little cold in the car, but my armpits are still sweating because they do that when I'm nervous. I grab my jacket from the back seat. 12:07 p.m. We've been sitting in silence for a while, but it's soft. 12:34 p.m. You're teasing me about so many things, and for a while I'm so happy, and then I start looking at your hands. 1:45 p.m. We switch drivers so you can sleep. It's a good thing, too. I wouldn't want you to see me cry. But a bump on the highway wakes you up and you notice. Your hand is on my shoulder now, and I have to hold my breath. I feel frozen even though my stomach is burning hot. To make me feel better, you tell me about the time you burped during the spelling bee. 2 p.m. A song we both like comes on. We look at each other in recognition. I wonder if you're looking at my hands. 3 p.m. I haven't even noticed the time passing. 4 p.m. We still have a few hours before we arrive. 6 p.m. 7 p.m. 9:51 p.m. We get there, lie down, say hello, sleep in separate beds. I go to sleep thinking about your hands. Thank you.
Okay, this is called 16. 16 feels like a fresh start, a new me, experiences flying my way. Every time I look, there's a new open door and a new friend, people that actually understand me. 16 feels productive. I'm getting things accomplished, making a name for myself. My hard work is paying off. I'm losing sleep, but it's all worth it. 16 feels like a year in full swing. Sometimes the year knocks me down. I'm kind of drowning in practice, school, and work. I'm trying to have a social life. I told you I'd have time, but I really miss my bed. The things I work so hard for suddenly don't seem to matter. 16 feels really rushed. I'm trying to say things, but I don't have time to spit them out of my mouth. Everyone stares at me, waiting for the end of an irrelevant story. My mind can't keep up with what's going on around me. I tell myself it's okay. I don't learn that way. 16 feels like rejection. Like you're not good enough. I don't have what it takes. No one is giving me a chance. I don't even compare to those other girls. 16 feels like a long 24 hours that I can't get through. Every day is cold. A new person is living inside of me, someone mean and tired. I am so impatient. Everything is frustrating. Everything is exhausting. 16 feels like depression. But it's very quiet. Feels like anxiety attacks no one knows about. Feels like a war inside my brain. Tough love telling a disease to get over itself. 16 feels like denial. Because I'm not that kind of person. I've always wanted it all until it all became too much. I am slowly becoming mute. I forget who I am. I forget what I stand for. I'm tired, and I don't want to talk, because nothing is worth talking about. And even if I tried to say something, no one would listen. The friends I've made have blossomed amongst me, and while I wilted beside them, I've never felt this unimportant. 16 feels like change that I didn't expect. Like I'll never be this way I was before.
A girl I really miss. A girl that lit up the room. A girl who didn't care what they all thought. A girl who wasn't so compulsive. A girl that didn't have an issue between herself and her brain. 16 years are coming to an end. A year of change will hopefully leave me able to breathe. 16 years has left me in rehab, regaining my strength to be okay again.
All right. This poem, a lot of my poems come from things that have happened in my life and stuff, and this one comes from a trip to the DR that I went on earlier this year. And while I was there, I just got to hear some of the stories of people. Sometimes I see people and just wonder what their story is. Does their past shape their lives like mine does, or is it long forgotten? Like a leaf blown off a tree from last fall and crushed under the speeding wheels of their car, forever moving forward. Because even if you put it in reverse, the mileage keeps climbing. Sometimes when I see a vapor trail, all I think of is the lives moving around the world to their own schedules. The places and people all intermixing to create events and live out their history. I see hearts climbing to the sky where all that you left when you look up are the confines of the atmosphere, where pressure has decreased to the breaking point. And when you look through 2 inches of bulletproof glass and steel, the sun burns you. And you can see space become truly, tangibly infinite. Under the ocean of air is an ocean of years. A young mother who left her reckless husband and is now the apple of her children's eyes, asking for her to get a taxi and come home to them, but the 12 days and $200 a month is keeping her from them to keep her with them. The white smile of dark faces and the deep black eyes set in marble that keep on smiling even after the last have gone. They know nothing else than how to entertain others. Surpassing language and culture, huts become homes, and our castles become prisons of ideologies that seem commonplace. A bedroom and a toilet is what we expect to be a meager commodity, but gathering sticks on the dirt highway is high living. There are places where your money grows on trees and sells for a few cents at a market. A cloud can cast a shadow over you right now, and you don't know its cause. You find yourself falling into the pattern of putting it off, of straddling the edge of the cliff of apathy, complacency, an assumption that consumption is the reason for the world. A train of thought that survived past the 1940s brought with it an era of superegos that make them an id of exhaustion and far-reaching goals reach too far. We raced for space, now we race for pace, to make the world catch up with us. But we need to catch up with them and leave behind the squander and find the life that many only know. The life we deny as propaganda pictures for time and nonprofits. Our reach has attached so far, and our grasp has entrapped so much, to simply lock away in our dungeon of strong boxes and safes, not relying on dirt to be your foundation for a powerhouse society. We have to find the time when we can look down from the metal bubble and see a vapor trail not of progress, but of heart. We have to use the lenses we've been given since birth to flip the image and see the stories more than the dollar signs.
This is called Alive. Commercials boomed. 2012, the end of the world. 5th grade mentality left me with tears streaming down my face. I don't want to die. What's the scariest part about dying? Maybe it's one day the universe won't revolve around your wants, needs, and desires. Your ideas will vanish. And what about the memories? Unfinished business, the plans you had for coffee on Wednesday, they're gone. It's pretty scary to think that you'll evaporate into sweet nothingness. Your matter won't weigh an ounce. Funny how you used to worry about that. What's the scariest part about dying? The place you go to feel normal and at ease, it isn't yours anymore. The bed you slept in now carries your weeping mother and not your restless body. Your best friend doesn't understand how God could do that. What's the scariest part about dying? I think it's the white hallway that goes on for eternity. I think it's the word forever, something so foreign to a creature so temporary. I think when you die, you'll receive all the wisdom you never gained,
The crooked will receive some straightening, the ignorant some knowledge. We'll learn the answers to all of our questions, or maybe even better, questions will evaporate with the word life. A state of contentment will cover us. God will abolish all the uncertainty as he promised. Tears used to ripple on my cheek. The thought of life was scary, but the thought of death was terrifying. I thought of my Aunt Kelly and Garrett and my grandma. They were right here. They used to talk, laugh, and cry, and now they're gone. I have a forever image of them in their final days. Can you imagine never shrinking with age or growing? I thought that was the worst thing that could happen. But one night you told me not to be so afraid of something that happens to everyone. I think that sentence was God sent. Because now I can't wait to dance in the bliss of my nothingness, to scream back to earth about how fun my trip was, out of the ozone, past Jupiter and Venus, and through the clouds into eternity. I want to talk to Jesus. Ask him how he turned water into wine, why he cured the blind with his spit, because that's really gross. I want to ask him if he's hurt by people that wear the crucifix around his neck, because that was his deathbed. I want to know why he was one with the sinners and not one with the women at my grandma's church. I have a lot of questions, which is better than being petrified. I'll scream down to earth and let you know what he says. I'm not scared to leave my coffee date behind or bail out on my bed. I'm not scared of the eternal hallway or the man who knows it all. When my time comes, no matter how early or late, I'll leave my anxieties about the end of my life on earth and walk with you in the white hallway of eternity.
I just realized how long this one is, so apologies in advance. This is called Pink Slip to an Old Muse. I never wrote a love poem when I was happy. It was always I miss yous on mascara-stained pages, quiet and unrequited, falling on my own grenades. Every word I wrote was the surgical removal of shrapnel from an overdramatic grieving heart. I learned catharsis like arithmetic, former love into a formula easier to swallow. Practice made perfect and lightened the burden. Writing turned words of being burned into southbound birds. Bending our memories into meter and rhyme made me realize being alone is severely underrated. I always thought leaving was the most difficult thing, but the hard part is making the decision to do it. As hard as it was to decide, loneliness was a loyal muse. So I learned to stay chasing the next verse with a pending surrender. Endings became like peeling back layers to figure out what I really felt. My emotions are at their most raw when I'm clawing my way back to solitude. I twist my wistful state into a workable storyline, my writing and my inner turmoil, two birds that I could take care of with the stone of a breakup. Once an us was over, I could embellish a moment into many more stanzas than I could when I was happy. When it's good, writing is energy. It is electricity traveling from head to fingertips, synapses firing fast as my fountain pen floods the page, spark in my brain to flame traveling down a vein like a fuse to dynamite. Combustion when I collide with the paper, neurons materialize my metaphors and spell out my similes. Act out alliteration as it appears in thin air. When inspiration is there, writing is a hell of a high. I exploited my own abandonment for 5 months. New Year's Eve, I met someone new, someone who encourages me to write, and something must be right because he makes it easy. I look at him, my fingers itch to bring paragraphs, pages, one-act plays on stages, scrawled on napkins. Everything that happens deserves stanzas. The adventures he plans as potential for novels and road trips and hostels, hands out the window in the wind, and I'm anxious I won't get it all down in time. I don't want to leave anything about this undocumented. I don't want to run out of ink. Thinking of every wrinkle in his sweater, trinkets in my desk drawer, legible letters, and I'm rapidly writing, stuck all night fighting with how to word it just right, to record these moments as they happen, do them justice so putting them down on paper doesn't make them flat. It is an unfamiliar task to me, being a stenographer of fair skies. My inspiration no longer depends on being desolate. I find myself able to write on streaks of continued contentity. I no longer look at love as a wave goodbye from a station wagon window. Cynicism is a sticky, viscous liquid. It will coat your lungs and spread to your heart. Humans breathe to speak. I worry my poetry peaked at the forlorn lost love letters I penned to the last one when he jettisoned. But it seems to me the point, the purpose, is much closer to the surface. While writing heals, what matters is what you feel now. We are evolving all the time. I cast no blame at the people of my past. I don't want them back, because the happiness I write of now defeats the sadness I lack. And if I'm not writing because I'm not sad, it's not half bad as far as fair trades go. It gives me more time to read, discharge my ego, redefine my own character, to experience happiness with the same fervor of former sadness. Rather than wallow in my previous misfortunes, I can now see the opportunity that accompanies moving on. I found it so much healthier to write on things more than myself, to be curious and to share my happiness, my successes as well as my failures, rather than expending all my words on someone who only inspires me to write by making me fight to make myself heard. So I no longer worry when weeks pass between poems, the lack of material will work itself out. In any extreme when I write, I want to be sincere, for in writing this way I find my emotions are truly mine.
This is called Rain Clouds. I'd like to write something worth smiling about. I totally just did that wrong. I'm sorry. I'm going to start again. This is called Rain Clouds. I'd like to write something good, but I've got my heart in something bad. I've got my head in the clouds, and there are thunderstorms up there, and the only rain puddles that I've been jumping into are striped with rainbows that have a negative connotation. You see, I've been feeling a bit down because everybody around me is high. Nobody's enjoying this sunset. They're just waiting for it to get dark. Why? Why am I the only one who can feel this longing in their heart? We say we want better, but we refuse to do good. I saw graffiti on the wall the other day with the N-word written in bright red. But that's not something I would bleed for, not something I would lead for. I'd like to paint something worth smiling about. The sun would shine down with pride, and the clouds would break apart. This may be the start. If I asked you if you remembered how to smile, do you think it would take you a while? I'm speaking honestly, I forget all the time because it's hard to shine in a place so dark. I think the whole world wants to find enlightenment, but to find we must seek, and most of us have forgotten how to speak about a world of working and searching. I can't tell you what I want to be when I grow up because I'm too afraid I may make a scar where I wasn't supposed to. How can we be dependent on to keep the world in shape? It doesn't matter how far I run or how brave I am. I'm still hoping, still trying, still fighting. I'm still crying. I can't see us like this for another day, flooded with people who have nothing to say. You see, our faults as humans lie farther than the depths of the earth. When earthquakes quiver, it comes from somewhere inner. Stop blaming Mother Nature and look at that lousy piece of glass you try to impress every morning. The drops falling down from the rain clouds that hinder your window pane, that's not the pain. The pain is how we can't sit on a bus with someone we trust, that every day little girls have to fear of lust. Somewhere inside of us, something has snapped, and that's not an applaud for this poem, but a crack in the human race. People are moving with so much haste. The world used to be like a porcelain doll until its owner threw it for its final fall. We were once beautiful and proud, people who spoke of peace to excite a crowd. When was the last time you saw a protest without a gun in someone's hand? Bullet by bullet, there's no one left to stand. No one left to stand for what's right. I'll write. I will write you these wrongs loud and clear. The hatred, the violence has got to disappear. Look up. The skies are clearing. If you listen closely, you can hear people cheering. There's a promise out there that has to be kept. A place of freedom and posterity. Remember how they wept? But now, this place was built on the bones of people who wanted truth, but now we're walking in a graveyard trapped in our own selfish youth. The thunder kept rumbling while the wind set the whole world tumbling. Lightning struck fire to our greedy desires. I can't help but think that I could be the one to change. Fall in your dreams? Why would that be so strange? I will never come to you pure and clean. I just want to help reverse the things that I've seen. So tell me now, can you feel it too? The way the wind whispers, you.
This poem is entitled The Archer. I'm an archer, but I only have one arrow. I once acquired more arrows in exchange for time. It was sublime until I managed to destroy all known liberties. These arrows cut deep. My dilemma is not accuracy. I lavishly pull back on relaxed bowstrings with diligent flings of winged pingers that puncture lovers, lusters, dead skin, and dusters. I strike quick and oh so smooth. It can be soothing to whom I choose, or a bruise, a wound protruding, pulling and shooting the arrow with a lucid cluelessness. Before you knew it, you'd been hit. Ping. There it was, something different. I hit the sweet spot, made your knees knock, made your mind spin, gave you diamond eyes. Perfection is real, however, it's not obtainable. It happens for mere moments at a time, a femtosecond, 1/4,000,000th of 1/1,000,000th of 1/1000,000th. And you might notice, but there slips the arrow. It's delicate, it's dynamic. But the arrow itself, see, now that's not the perfection. The perfection is when someone snatches your arrow, they look you dead in the eyes and snap it in half. They tell you to get a new arrow. You say, hold on while I rummage through these twigs to salvage something. The person looks at you whilst on your hands and knees searching and says, you want to know real perfection? My mother is perfection. She's the essence of everything holy. You keep speaking of these moments. These moments, they're nothing. They'll be forgotten like rocks that are now simply grains in the bottom of an ocean. Yeah. I sharpen the stick I found. Ping, stop talking. But not quite. My fingers touch the bow and I quiver. Oh, my skull. How could he say something that has me wondering? That is when I started to unveil a jigsaw puzzle of contradictions. What if this person was my brother? Then would that not make his perfection my mother and my perfection his other? Picture you've just had a newborn baby. A friend might say, oh, it has your eyes. I'll have children for this, so I can stare back at them and go, you know you're right, but you know what's even crazier? It has your eyes too. We all have the same eyes, we all have the same exact eyes, the same brains, the same chemicals running through us, the same heartbreaks, the same feelings of love, the same laughs, sads, goods, bads, confusion, fury, worry, and the same childish whimsicality on occasion. So I looked at this imaginary person that I created for the sake of creating and said, why can't we have the same perfection? And ping, we did. All of us. Everybody strolled around and enjoyed each other's perfection, the perfect trees, the perfect families. It was like living in a good dream that you'd never wake up from. Everyone feels amazing. Everything feels so real, but it's not real. It's not real at all. No one felt the pain. No one felt the heartbreak. No one died. A wrench had been thrown in the universe's axis. I was sitting outside on a perfect day in this perfect world when God descended from the sky. I'm not going to describe what she looked like, but the moment I looked in her eyes, I realized how lost I was. I stood up, melancholy and fearful, but with a motivation. I walked to the ends of the earth, removing arrows and snapping them, one to another, until I'd only one for myself, and I snapped that too.
All right, before I start, I just want to say this is the last poem of the night, so thank you all so much for coming, and I hope you had a great time. Okay, this poem's called Zoetic Zeros, and if you don't know what zoetic means, I'm pretty sure it means like of life or relating to life. Hope I'm right. Okay. Make home a back porch coffee table. Keep love in your deepest pockets. Release your fists, exhale, cut loose all tightness in your chest. Stretch, 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 strive, strengthen your stream of consciousness. Reach your arms out as far as they'll touch. You are all you are, and for all you know, you could be touching both ends of the earth. You are so big, you are so much, you are really, really here. Your face is smooth and reflective of the bright sky before you. Uncurl your knuckles. Carry, hold, but do not confine. You have been waiting for so long. This resistance no longer needs maintenance. The perpetuation of keeping your hands up, it is a waste of time to incessantly shield yourself from feeling. Let waves crash on all of your sore spots. Let them take you, send you. At night, you need not tiptoe downstairs. It will always creak. You cannot avoid squeaks and sounds of sinisterness. Be clumsy. Bang into walls. Jump, 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 jump. Feel. Listen to how loud this is. Do you hear that? Today is so loud. Tomorrow is louder. Your own pulse is deafening. There is so much aliveness here. I deserve the space I occupy. Every buzz, flutter, guffaw, hiccup, and thwack is an entity worth conserving. Move, strum, speak, scream, emit, expand, exclaim, explode. Things end, and that is perfectly okay. Love what lasts and what doesn't. Everything good ends, and that is okay. This vivacious current will not wait for you. Go, 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 go. Mortality is spellbinding. Celebrate it. Here you are, you blossoming existence. Be everything you can. You can look at life two ways. The more friends you make, the more funerals you will go to. Or, the more funerals you go to, the more friends you made. Thank you.